think we're not yet live, I think, in the
It is live, sir.
It is live? Okay. Because
Now
I'm
it is live.
Yeah, on the left, top
okay.
left, you can see the link also there.
Okay, excellent. Excellent. Okay, good evening. If everybody's okay, since we have our keynote speaker, Dean Mahesh and Preeti and Sachin and Anirudh and rest of my important, co-organizers of the event already here. Thank you all for joining. Thank you to the students who are already online and welcome to you all to the first lecture series, what we're calling as the Y lectures. I'm just going to take a very few brief moments to explain who I am, and then who are all these other people who are behind this, and then hand it over to Dean Mahesh to invite, welcome, and make an introduction of Chris, who doesn't need it, but I think it's worthwhile again reinforcing who he is. Uh, my name is Sharat Naru. I'm one of the 79ers. And the reason why I'm here today is because I believe passionately in the cause that my whole batch has pursued, called the Young Research Fellow Program. The word research is very critical there, and I've faced this thing in my own business, which is a venture capital business, where the idea of research and going deep into a particular topic manifests itself in being competitive, and competitiveness is the biggest or the single most important thing in our business as a venture capital business that we back. And in this, we are more keen about deep tech as opposed to shallow tech, and that's what motivated me. Having said that, that's the same topic that all our 79er batchmates, about 250 of them, we all graduated in 1979 from IIT Madras, and we are probably a little bit older than the parents of the students who are listening to us right now. Your parents might have just be missed being ragged. I believe it's illegal these days, but in those days it was not illegal, and it was all done in friendly, humor and helpfulness, etc. And you will see a number of them who are very illustrious, very more than being illustrious, they're all very sincere and they're very helpful. And I would encourage them to connect with them. Now, having said that, the 79ers have backed this program called the Young Research Fellow Program. The program is all about inculcating a research orientation which is deeper than the kind of research or going deep into a subject kind of activity that you currently do as a third year IIT student. Preeti will talk more about that later. Having said that, now the next step is why this Y series of lectures. Now you'll constantly see this word Y again and again, not only in the label YRF, which of course Y stands for Young in the YRF Research Fellow Program, but the letter Y and the Y, it's all about what is research. Research is about three words essentially. It is why, what, and how. And if you look a little bit deeper, why comes even deeper than what and how. I won't explain why I'm saying that. That's up to the students and you all to figure it out. And that's the reason why we call this the Y lectures. And Chris is our first speaker there in this in the series of Y lectures. And Chris is the common thing between Chris and me is, and the last thing I believe I should be saying is that we are both from the 79 batch of IIT Madras. I am not going to tell you all the good things about Chris, other than I'm going to read out to you two, maybe I won't say they're embarrassing things, but there's certainly things that he said in as part of his in one of his weak moments, I guess. This is what he said about his background when he was still in college, and this is something that you students who are listening should acknowledge and think about it for yourself. This is what he said, right? Embarrassed, adrift, my confidence shaken, I started an undergrad course in physics with a vague notion of becoming a researcher. Now, this is what Chris said when he was in just getting into his undergrad school, or maybe it was a year or two into undergrad school. Again, embarrassed, adrift, my confidence shaken. And then he met a person who kind of advised him in a maybe not in a very pleasant way, but certainly the advice he took to heart. And this is what he said. He heard, do what you love, work hard at it, and all will go well. And you know what all well means when Dean Mahesh is going to talk to you about where Chris has landed. Most of you know where Chris has landed. I'm going to now leave it to Dean Mahesh to tell you students at least about where Chris has landed. And then, of course, Chris is going to talk about the topic for the evening. Over to Dean Mahesh.
Thank you, Sharath. It's a delight and pleasure to be introducing Chris at any day of the week. Chris is an absolute gentleman, a very nice person. That's the start. That's where I want to start introducing Chris. We all know him as the former vice chairman and leader of Infosys, the co-founder of the company, and we all know what Infosys has done to the Indian economy as a whole and to Indian exports. But as Sharath just mentioned, Chris started out in quest of research as a graduate of physics and then subsequently a computer science graduate from IIT Madras. He holds 2 degrees from IIT. He's a double alumnus in some sense. And to add a thought, he has not let gone of that spirit of inquiry. Even today, he is extremely passionate about fundamental science and research for the benefit of humankind. He has been a great supporter of IIT Madras for many of its initiatives. He's also supported several initiatives at the Indian Institute of Science, which is one of the country's most well-known and premier research institutions. He is very passionate about advancing science to a point where that science can come back to benefit humankind. I think there are many pieces of the puzzle along the way. Like a government may fund pure science research, someone else may fund the translational part. But Chris is very passionate about the complete value chain of research, and he has invested and his uh, he has prophesied. He has actually propagated the idea that research is a great way to get a country on a growth path that is unimaginable otherwise. We are fortunate to have an alumnus like Chris, and I think the country is fortunate to have had a leader like him. Having led organizations, and now uh, he is around for the country to bank on for several policy thoughts and initiatives. With that, I think I would like to invite Chris to deliver his talk. Thank you very much,
Uh,
Sharat, for this chance.
Mahesh, can we just, sorry to interrupt, can we just pause for a second? Chris, really very sorry. Just need a second to fix the YouTube.
Sure,
I'll come back and
sure,
let
sure,
you.
sure, sure. Absolutely no problem.
I'll give the green signal in a second.
Sure,
Uh,
sure.
I just checked it. It doesn't seem to have started the YouTube channel.
I can see it on my laptop, the YouTube being active.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you able to?
Also see that.
Yeah, because I see 19 people waiting. I don't know why.
No, sir. A little while ago, YouTube showed an error to me,
Okay.
and I quickly copied that link, which is actually live on YouTube. I'm watching now. I sent that link again to Madam as well as IR officer.
Okay. Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So sorry about it because suddenly it just showed an error to me. The live is on, sir. The live is on, and I'm watching from the Zoom live.
Chris, Chris,
Okay, so I can
over
start.
to you, sir.
Okay, thank you, Sharath. Thank you, Mahesh. Thank you to the 79 batch, and thank you to all the students for giving me the opportunity to share my thoughts. as Sarath said, as Mahit said, I'm very passionate about research. Um, when I took MSc Physics, uh, I thought my path was to go to research stream. But then I got fascinated by computers and decided that I will switch to the computer science field. But then after my innings at Infosys, I decided to now back research because I felt that now I'm in a position to support many people doing research, and that's what I'm doing. I'll take you through my thinking there uh, uh, through the presentation that I'm going to share with you. I will talk for maybe about 30 minutes, and then we'll have Q&A as long as the organizers allow me to do that. I've termed this as presentation as India as a developed economy, and I will connect it to the theme of research as we go along. Okay, so let me start talking about it. So, it's very interesting. We are going through a very difficult period, but you know, in some perverse way, what we are realizing is that uh, what we are realizing is that we have to accelerate science right now in order to understand the virus better, in order to find cures, vaccine. International collaboration is happening at unprecedented ways. Large number of peer-reviewed papers uh, is happening. Similarly, large number of not peer-reviewed papers are happening. So we are seeing actually science at speed and a sense of urgency. And I feel that this is actually very positive because everybody is realizing the value of science suddenly. Um, Especially when I address students, I actually start with this quote from Steve Jobs. I like this very much. When you grow up, you tend to get told that the world is the way it is and your life is just to live your life inside the world. Try not to back into the walls too much. Try not to um, break things. Try not to go outside the box. You put in a box. Just have a nice family life, have fun, save little money. But that's a very limited life. Life can be much broader once you discover one simple fact. Everything around you called life was made up by people that were no smarter than you, and you can change it, you can influence it. Once you learn that, you will never be the same again. And and this is actually what is exciting to me when you think about research, when you think about entrepreneurship, because these are the people who are going to transform the world, who are going to create a new tomorrow. And I want to talk about that new tomorrow as we go along and seeing the larger picture. The dream that I have is India as a developed economy, India as a developed country. I want all of you to share that dream and work towards that. Then only it will happen. It can't be just my dream and it will not happen. So I want all of you to share that dream and make it happen. And I want to prove that it is necessary to do that. But to understand the future, we must first recognize the past. And so we will go back into the 20th century and look at a country, US. See, at the beginning of the 20th century, US was reasonable size economy, but not the largest economy in the world. And let's look at how US became an economic superpower in the 20th century. And you can say that 20th century is identified with United States. It's really the 20th century is United States, America's century. America took advantage of the second industrial revolution, and you can see so many amazing technologies were introduced. Electrification, electricity is actually the internet of the second industrial revolution. It powered factories. So by 1930, 80% of power actually became electric. from 3% of households in the beginning of the 20th century. By 1930, 80% of the households started using electricity. Now look at what are the apps of the Industrial Revolution. The apps of the Industrial Revolution are the appliances that we use at homes: irons, cooking appliances, refrigerators, washing machines. Huge economic activity in manufacturing, in sales, retail, you name it. And people's lives became better. They have a lot more spare time because they were able to use these appliances and things like that. Similarly, the same thing happened in production, in manufacturing. A price of a Model T car went down from $900 in 1908 to $360. Production went 10 times during that period. 150% productivity improvement. And along with technology, you also need to create new theories and new models. So there is Taylor's theory of scientific management. In fact, I firmly believe that we are still in the theory of management, which is in the Industrial Revolution era. And then Henry Ford came up with the assembly line manufacturing. That's how he improved the production from about 13,000 to 130,000 actually. And this is what drove the US economy in the first half of the 20th century. In the second half of the 20th century, the third industrial revolution happened. Introduction of digital computers in 1945, invention of transistor in 1947 by Bardeen, Breton, and Shockley. And my claim to fame is that in 1978, John Bardeen visited IIT Madras, and I played host to him. In those days, there was no internet actually. So I did not know who John Bardeen was other than just a Nobel Prize winner. In fact, he won Nobel Prize in 2 fields. One of the few people who won, probably the only person who won in 2 fields. And I got to host him actually in IIT Madras because we gave him an honorary doctorate in 78. Introduction of the first single chip microprocessor, Intel 4004. Now, most of the people who are in the 79 batch lived through this digital computing revolution, and they can actually recognize many of these milestones in there. The introduction of the IBM 360 mainframe computer, the personal computer by Apple in 1977. Novell introduced the network operating system in 1983, Windows in 1985, local area network by Cisco in 1987. And every one of them is an invention and an innovation and became a large business, right? Every one of them would have some connection to a R&D effort in some organization, maybe an academic institution or a business. Some of them are at IBM, some of them are Bell Labs, some of them are at Stanford. Many of the things in the networking came out of, for example, Cisco actually came out of Stanford. One of the professors in Stanford came out and started Cisco. He became the first CEO of Cisco. So, a lot of these have actually come out of the research efforts, and new products and new technologies were introduced, new businesses were created as part of this. And it doesn't end there actually. 2G, digital cellular network in 1991, followed by 3G in the early 2000s, 4G now, the Mosaic browser and network navigator. 1994 is really the democratization of internet. The democratization of PC was in 1981 when IBM introduced it. The democratization of internet was in 1994, and it completely transformed how we do many things in life now. So founding of Amazon was also in 1994 as an online bookstore. The top computer in 1996, the Nokia 9000 communicator. The first mobile phone which had applications which you can install was the Nokia 9000. Google introduced search in 1997, founding of Facebook 2004. So now suddenly you're coming to your era. Many of you probably were born around 2000, etc. And these technologies are not that old actually. Facebook, imagine that it's only 16 years old. and it has conquered the world. Newer technologies are doing that faster. TikTok has done it in 3 years, actually. 3 billion people using TikTok in just 3 years. The introduction of convolutional neural network in 2012, where deep machine learning took off and changed how we think about AI. You know, when new technologies are introduced, it also creates new leadership. So in the mainframe era, IBM became the dominant company with its mainframe computers, etc. During the personal computer era, Apple became the dominant player. When software became dominant, Microsoft, SAP, Oracle. In networks, Cisco, Internet, Google, Amazon, social media, etc. So these transitions allow new leadership to emerge. Now, why are these things important? These are important because as we think about the future, as you think about the future, you need to ride these waves as individuals to create a career for yourself. That's what I luckily did. I switched from physics to computer science at the right time. 1978, 79, 77 is when I switched to computer science at IIT Madras. I was fortunate to do that, and I was there right from the beginning, actually. And later on, you will see that many other technologies are coming up now, which creates opportunities for you to take full advantage of that. Now, looking at a macro picture, right? The blue is US, right? And you can see that in the 1900, it's about 15% of the global economy, and how it has become the dominant player. It took full advantage of the Industrial Revolution, Second Industrial Revolution, then the World War. Again, it became the manufacturing hub for the world, then the digital computing revolution. And the green line, which seems to be above that, is really Europe combined. So that's Italy, France, Germany, all the countries in Europe together. If you individually look at those countries, it will probably be lower than, not probably, it will, all of them will be lower than US actually. And US continues to be the dominant economy in the world, riding on the second industrial revolution and the third industrial revolution. It is very, very important to recognize this actually, that through investments in research, innovation, entrepreneurship, creation of new businesses, new companies, US became the dominant company. If you look at the top 5 companies by market cap in the US, these are all companies that were not in existence 50 years back. Microsoft, Apple. Microsoft is the oldest, started somewhere in 1972, 73 time frame, I believe, or in the 70s. Apple much later, and then rest of the companies, Amazon 94, Google 97, Facebook is 2004. So very young companies, and they are the dominant companies in the world today, right? And later on, there is a slide on China. You will see what is happening now. There are significant number of new technologies that are coming. Right on the right side in blue, I've shown many of the technologies that are emerging: 3D printing, AI/ML, genetics and code of life, better materials, data business. You know, the whole area of how to leverage data, etc. And combined together, this is the fourth industrial revolution, which combines physical, digital, and biological systems. And it is unprecedented in terms of how it will impact every single industry, every business, everybody. We have seen in our life changes, significant changes. Who would have imagined that we will be carrying a mobile phone in our hand, which is more powerful than the IBM 370 computer that IIT Madras got in 1973. At that point, it cost $2 million. It occupied one full floor of the computer science department. And that's what you are having in your hand at less than $500, and you can put it in your pocket. Right? What you have is probably even more powerful than that. And that's what is happening today. why, and I'll just take one technology that's very interesting, which is the AI and ML. See, the traditional model of computing is you have data, you write the algorithm to solve the problem, you code the algorithm into a computer program, feed that into the computer, feed the data, and you get the result. It's a finite state automata that's being digitized. It's, you know, if you know this, how to solve the problem, you can do the, you can write the program and you can solve it using computers. What AI and ML is you train the system. You actually train the system with desired results and the data, a sample set of data, which is tagged, which is curated, which has been filtered to uh, train the system. And out comes the algorithm, right? So you don't need to know how to solve the problem. All you need is the data, which is curated, which is labeled, so that the computer can be trained, and then you generate the algorithm. You know, this is very good, because now you have the ability to solve new classes of problems where you yourself do not know how to solve it. You know, if I ask you the question, how do you recognize a face? How do you recognize a cat versus a dog? We recognize, but we cannot actually explain it actually how to do this. And but now computers are able to recognize faces, computers are able to recognize cat from a dog, computers are able to do many things which are considered human intelligent activity, right? So several new classes of problems can be solved, and this is actually a significant breakthrough which has happened in the last 10 years actually, and that's also driving almost all the technologies underneath the the fourth industrial revolution. This is a fundamental technology that's driving fourth industrial revolution. Um, and, and, and this, I believe, is going to transform everything that we know, and the power that will be created will be significant. Another interesting fact about machines is that machines become better over time in everything that they do. I'll just give you a simple example. Moving from place A to place B, right? From you know, us taking steps, walking, running, we can achieve certain speed. Then we invented wheels. Then we invented fast forwarding automobiles, right? Then we invented planes. And today, you know, a 380 can take 600 people from place A to place B almost at the speed of sound, right? And we, when humans want to do certain things, we can actually do much better than nature, much better than how humans can do it. And we don't exactly replicate nature. We come up with new models, because nature, if you look at flying, has flappable wings. But when we invented planes, we said we want fixed wings, right? Because that's what works. That's what physics teaches you, aerodynamics teaches you. And we created new designs and models going away from how nature do. But it's our ability to wonder, our ability to create, our ability to imagine things. That's what has created this ability in human beings to come up with new models, new ways of doing things. And this is where I believe that, you know, will we be able to create a system, and I'm very deliberately using system, as intelligent as human beings? I believe that a network of machines can be more intelligent than humans. And it's already showing some of this. You know, all the knowledge in the world is captured in the internet, right? Now, internet is able to do speech recognition. It's able to do real-time translation. It's able to do many things that human beings are unable to do, actually. And so if you take that as a system, and if you use a mobile phone as a UI and connect to that system, to that cloud, you will actually enhance human capability by exponential method, exponential way. And this is why I believe that we will be able to achieve artificial general intelligence sooner than later. Now, let me switch to China, actually. China has realized this, and has come out with a very, very ambitious plan. And it's a multi-year, well thought out plan going to becoming a dominant player in fields actually. And they've systematically thought through this. They will become competitive in AI in 2020, will create breakthroughs. That means more number of new products, new services, new papers, all will come from China. It's already starting to happen, and become a world leader by 2030. And they will use it for social governance, they will use it for defense, construction, industrial value chain, everything, right? See how systematically they're going about it. They have actually identified companies that will specialize in, so Baidu is going to specialize in autonomous vehicles and things like that. Alibaba specializing in smart city, e-commerce, etc. Tencent, medical imaging. iFlyTech, intelligent voice, SenseTime, facial recognition, etc. It's amazing that how industry, academia, government all working together to systematically create dominance and systematically create world-beating companies, systematically transforming society. And no wonder both India and China started in 1980 with $300 as per capita income. Today, China is at $10,000 per capita income, and we are at $3,000 per capita income. They're almost 3 times what we are, or 4 times what we are. Actually, India's per capita income is 2,000 actually. So they are actually 5 times what we are today. China is on track to outpace US in some measures of AI progress. And this is on the research side, right? The number of papers that China publishes is far exceeded now the number of papers that rest of the world publishes actually. If you look at, and this is hot today, I looked at the Hurun report, and which says that USA is number 1 in terms of unicorns, the number of billion-dollar market cap companies, 233. China is not too far behind, 227. Fortunately, India is 4th with 21, but 1/10 of what China has today, and we need to change that actually. I'm going faster now. So my dream is that 21st century becomes India's century. And I believe that it's possible to do that. We have the 2nd largest consumer base. We have ambitious goals to become a $5 trillion economy and a $10 trillion economy. At $10 trillion economy, we will actually reach per capita income of $10,000. We will become a middle income country, middle class in majority, enormous wealth to be made, completely transform the society and the country. But can we do it differently? Can we do it uniquely? What kind of India will you build is a question that we need to answer. I strongly believe that the 21st century that we are in today is inequitable. We all face climate change challenges. The environment is getting polluted. It's not inclusive. A lot of people are left behind. The wealth is very skewed to the upper 1% of the society. Our cities are not livable. Healthcare is not accessible. So can we flip this around? Can we create a new model for development that is equitable, sustainable, inclusive, etc.? Again, it requires us to innovate. There will be research behind it, and we need to create new models of development. Aadhaar is an example. UID is an example. The UPI, the fintech stack, that India stack that we have created is an example where from one phone to another phone, you can transfer money instantaneously with almost zero cost, right? Nowhere in the world you can do that. We have a telephone network where at 300 rupees, which is about $4, you can have unlimited voice, unlimited data, practically unlimited data. You get 1 GB per day. And the mobile phone, the smartphone is just 5,000 rupees, affordable to 70-80% of the people. We can probably make it affordable to everybody, etc. We need to change agriculture to look at regenerative agriculture, where today the soil is depleted of carbon. Now there are new ways of doing agriculture where we can actually put the carbon back into the soil, and agriculture itself becomes a carbon sink and creates a sustainable world. It's estimated that 25% of the carbon can be captured just by capturing it into the soil and becoming the fertilizer for agriculture and things like that. So we need to become number one in research, number one in innovation, and number one in entrepreneurship. Why do I believe that it's possible? I believe that it's possible. I'm going to skip this slide. Um, it's possible because of my experience, and I'll come to this actually. Why research in India is important? Again, let me add to that. So one is, of course, becoming a developed economy, changing the lives of billions of people, transforming society, becoming a middle class society, becoming an equitable society, creating a new model. But there are also issues related to unique Indian problems and challenges. Nobody is going to address them. So, for example, COVID vaccine, right, or a cancer cure. Do you know the immunotherapy cure that some people are now able to take advantage of to cure cancer costs $600,000 per dose. That is per for one treatment, $600,000. Now, most of the people in the US can't afford, and definitely top 1% in India can afford. Others, 99% cannot afford. So we need to actually reduce the cost of solutions, products, etc. We need to bring in unique perspectives from a cost angle, from a diversity of thought angle, um, you know, which meets our requirements and things like that. And we can, I believe, provide unique India models to the world. This 21st century of development, which is more equitable, more affordable, more inclusive, and things like that. And that again means research, drinking water for all. A lot of these things IIT Madras is doing, affordable housing, which is using prefab and things like that. A lot of things we are doing actually. Now we need to scale this up and make it larger. Now, coming to my experience, what gives me confidence? One is having built the IT services industry in India, being part of that, not part of the building of Infosys. I had a small role to build the IT services industry in India. It has become a showcase for India. It's world class. If you look at the top 10 companies in IT services, you will find 5 companies are Indian. We have created 4 million jobs, $190 billion, $140 billion of exports, changed the perception about India. This is actually triggering another multiple waves of entrepreneurship. And there's a new confidence now that India can do it. India can actually compete with the best in the world and can win, can create world-class products. And singularly, we were singularly focused on one area, IT services. We could have gone into products and things like that. But if you want to build something, focus is important, depth is important. You need to give it enough time. You need to scale. Scale is very important, right? Unless it's of a certain scale and size, nobody's going to notice it. If it was just one company, it would not have mattered. Today, hundreds of companies. This has become the default model for the world actually on how software is developed and how even R&D is done. Digital services are delivered. This has become the default model. When anybody thinks about talent for digital services, for R&D, white collar work, India becomes the #1 destination. That's what we have been able to do. And that's what gives me the confidence. And we were competing with the best in the world. We were definitely competing with the best in the world. So we were able to compete and win, and we were able to give the world a model, new model, and we were able to impact society. We were able to create world-class jobs sitting here in India, and we are helping the global 2000 companies. The global industry is benefiting from the lower cost in India. We started doing this because we saw explosive requirement for software, right? And we said, can we do this in India at lower cost so that everybody's costs come down? And that's the reason why this became the default model. It's faster, cheaper, better. All three are important. It's faster, cheaper, and it's better. And that's the reason why this became the default model for the world. So after I stepped down from Infosys, I said that, can we do this in other areas? And I said, if India wants to be a developed economy, if India wants to transform itself, it has to be built on top of its research, innovation, and entrepreneurship ecosystem. It will have to be the new companies that we create. It'll have to be the new thought leadership that we create. It'll have to be through ambitious programs that we create. And I picked brain sciences as the field to support personally. India needs to probably identify 10, 15, 20 mission mode projects. And we have proven to the world that if we choose a mission mode project, we can achieve it. Example, ISRO, landing on moon or landing on Mars and things like that, right? We can achieve that. And why not choose ambitious goals like this? Cure for cancer, cure for Alzheimer's. So as part of the brain sciences interest, we are looking at healthy aging, looking at neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, dementia. This is a global problem. Every country is facing this problem. In the next 25 years, we will have more people above 65 than ever before. Every country will be aging. In about 1940, India will also start aging actually, and we will face the problem of Alzheimer's, dementia, etc. We will have about 65 million people more than, 200 million people above the age of 65. And 1 in 5 will develop some kind of a neurodegenerative disease at that point. That's a huge burden, huge cost. There is no cure. So can we actually put our effort to solve such large problems? The second area is to support innovation and entrepreneurship, as many of you are doing actually. And I invest in startups, support startups, etc. The third area is to work in public space to influence government policy. For example, why the NEP is important. We are increasing the investment in education to 6% of GDP. Similarly, I would like to see the investment in research to go to 3% of GDP. I work with the Confederation of Indian Industry again to align industry's thought leadership to address some of these challenges and goals, etc. Finally, I believe that those who are crazy enough to think they can change the world usually do. Again, a quote from Steve Jobs, somebody who I respect a lot. And I firmly believe this. So if we believe, all of us together believe that India will become a developed economy, this century will be India's century, 21st century to India, to the world will be what US was to the 20th century. We will be the 21st century kid on the block actually, and we will be leading in the area of research, innovation, entrepreneurship. And that's the reason why we want more people to choose the research, more people to think about applied research, more people to do startups, more people to build big things, more people to have ambitious goals, most people to think that they can change the world. And many people, India is a large country. If enough number of people believe that they can change the world, it will indeed happen. Wish you all the very best.
Thank you. Thank you, Chris, for a wonderful presentation. Chris, thank you.
I'm going to stop sharing my screen actually.
Right. Thank you. Chris, would you like to take some questions now, or would you like to wait till later?
No. I'm done with my presentation. So I'm now looking forward to the questions, interactions, etc.
Excellent. So I'm going to maybe just start off, but before I start off, maybe I'm first going to maybe request my other batchmates right here, and they're certainly smarter and brighter than and more eloquent than me. I'm going to request them to ask if they have any questions. Please do ask. This is a chance to ask a batchmate, uh, something meaningful.
Somebody has to go first.
Okay.
I'll go first. I have a question.
Yes.
Please
I'm
go ahead,
Hitesh.
Hitesh.
I'm a batchmate of Narus, 79 batch. And my question is, you showed the graphs, and one of the graphs shows, China going up, and, almost looks like they'll catch up with the US soon. And one of the concerns that is coming up is that China is a country without a soul. And along with, all the economic development, from on the human side, there are things that are not going so well. And you pointed out that it's not just innovation that's important, but when you do it, you have to do it right, and India has the opportunity to do that. So I was wondering if you had any comments on that.
So Geetesh, I believe that every country can go through these stages, right? Some people probably will say that the US is going through a phase where it doesn't seem to have a soul or something like that, right? But it probably is better at self-correcting itself. Now, if you talk to a Chinese, they will tell you that the society has Buddhism in its soul, and a lot of people believe that actually, harmonious living, peaceful coexistence, etc., etc. So, I don't want to comment on any particular country, etc., but I believe that there is a new model that's required under communist or under authoritarian regime, under democratic regimes, under every form of government, um, especially excluding probably the Nordic countries. Nordic countries would probably be the exception to this. We have seen that inequality increasing. China is also an unequal society today, even though it's supposed to be communist, right? And believes in social welfare and things like that. There are enough number of poor people, but they have been able to every year increase the per capita income, and that's why they are able to build a harmonious society. So I think politics, the leadership matter, political outlook matters, uh, and and we hope that we will have better leadership, more let's say leadership more in sync with some of the beliefs that we have in terms of equitable growth and sharing things, inclusiveness, etc. We hope that it will happen in India. But it depends on the leadership that we have.
Thank you.
Can I ask a question, Chris?
Yes.
Hemant Jalan here. The IT services industry was developed by your company and others. People generally say it is in spite of the government. There was hardly any government support given for the industry to develop and the way it has come about. For the research to be done in India, do you think the government support or drive is necessary? Or if we develop these mechanisms which you're talking about, YRF, etc., across various institutes in India, do you think it's a possibility we do it without banking on too much of government support?
See, I have, in the last 4 or 5 years, worked very closely to understand these things, and my understanding may be wrong, but I can tell you that one, the government support was there for IT industry, IT services industry. They did the right things. So the most important thing is doing the right things actually. So they created the software technology park framework, which allowed import of computers, etc., duty free. So it lowered the cost of import, right? Gave us access to technology. They created the tax incentives for exports. So it allowed us to actually get a lot more profits, which we invested back into the business. The STPI also decentralized all approvals to the local STP. So in Bangalore, for example, at Electronic City, even building plans are approved by the STP officer. We don't have to go to the city. We don't have to go to the anybody. So single window clearance in the truest sense, because all approvals are provided by the STP. When we report income tax and when we have to show exports, the export certificate is given by the STP, right? Everything was centralized into one entity, which is there right next to you, which understands the industry very well. So I firmly believe that government did help, but they did the right things in helping. And a lot of times the Department of Electronics secretaries were technocrats rather than bureaucrats. People like Seshagiri, Vichal, etc., were actually amazing people who actually helped the industry develop, work together with the industry to develop in the right manner and form and things like that. Now, switching forward to research, look at who runs these organizations. Look at IICT, look at UGC, look at DST, look at DBT, look at Principal Scientific Advisor. They are all from the fraternity of academicians and researchers in the country. They are the peers. Now, I think we can influence, we are influencing, and we are making these changes. The new NEP is put out by Dr. Kasturi Rangan and his team, actually, who's again a technocrat, in some sense, and he understands research and things like that. So we are the people who are creating these policies and things like that. So we just need to make sure that it works for everybody and things like that. I strongly believe that today, if you look at startups and if you have a good plan, good idea, you will get funded in India. Very similarly, if you have a program in India, research program in India, it will get funded by government or private sector or by an overseas entity. And significant amount of funding is available in India. My limited experience at the Center for Brain Research, we are already collaborating with the Alzheimer's Association of US. There is interest from several philanthropic organizations. We are working very closely with Tata Trust, and we got government grants also. I personally chair a initiative from Government of India for cyber physical systems. We have total fund of 3,600 crores to be allocated. IIT Madras got 150 crores out of that.
I have a question. Can I ask?
Yes.
Yes, okay. Hi, my name is Subra, also a 79er. First of all, it was a fantastic and inspirational speech from you. Some of the logic was what we also used to arrive at the YRF program. But basically, my question is, in the US, they have this value chain that goes from NSF, NIH at the extreme left, which does basic research. And then, of course, it flows into universities, as well as industrial R&D, and then finally Silicon Valley and development to the right. Is there a similar value chain? I don't know if there is an equivalent of NSF, NIH, DARPA type of stuff on the extreme left to propel research to the right side. That's my question.
So it somewhat exists, but it's being now made more formal through the new education policy, which is now planning to set up a National Research Foundation, NRF, we are calling it. And hopefully, that will emulate NSF. IIT Madras is the best ecosystem to translate research, I believe. Maybe IIT Bombay and IIT Delhi also. There is a research park alongside IIT Madras where a lot of startups, about 200 plus startups are working. Many of the faculty members are now becoming entrepreneurs, supporting startups, etc. So there is a two-way movement of people between startups and academia, academia to startups, etc. So we need to scale these up. We need to have many more institutes which follow these models, adopt these models, etc. It's starting to happen. This is a recent phenomenon. We need to invest more in research. Quantity is important. Then we need to ask for quality. So all of those things are happening. So remember that, till recently we couldn't afford it. Our priorities were, can you feed everybody? Can you clothe everybody? Can you house everybody? Can you give education to everybody? Now we are looking at more ambitious things like research and, and see, it's not a question of lack of capability. Smart people are there. Enough number of smart people are there. So it just, we need to create the systems. We need to create the ecosystem environment. We need to fund it very well. We need to give the leadership it requires, and then it will happen. And that's the reason why I said this is the right time. We need to be ambitious in thinking aloud. And I've also, I didn't refer to it, read the Vannevar Bush's
Yes.
1945 thing that triggered the whole industrial R&D, industrial academia R&D, and then later entrepreneurship ecosystem in the US.
Yeah.
Right?
Science, the endless frontier.
Exactly. It's like the endless frontier. Right. So we need to do the same thing. We are very good at learning from these things, and we are actually fortunate that a lot of our people are on the other side sitting in the US helping us also. They understand that and they're helping us. So it's actually, that's why I believe that, we are at the right time, at the right place, and we can do it.
Thank
By the way,
you.
I'm in the US. I'm with Qualcomm,
Yes.
and I used to be in the labs.
Thank you, Chris, for a wonderful session and question and answers. I'm sure there are many more questions and answers, but I'm going to take the last question to you, and then request Preeti to jump in and talk about the YRF program. My last question is as follows. So, see, I'm going to read out your own sentence here, Chris, which was, "Do what you love, work hard at it, and all will go well." Now, this was a quotation from you, which was from an interview by a Harvard Business Review, I think, reporter. Now,
You have gone through everything and you're replaying everything. Now to be very careful in future.
it's a very important sentence, because the reason I bring this up is because there's a tendency for there to be too much entrepreneurship, too much of application, and maybe too little research. And the too little research is about jumping into an application or jumping into entrepreneurship before we have built something that is truly competitive, truly sustainable, and truly meaningful as a solution to solving a big problem.
So,
And that goes to the core of what you said in that, in your statement, that do what you love, and then you'll get to, I mean, that's the whole point there, right?
right,
So
Sarad.
stop there. Yeah.
Yeah, Sarad, it's I wouldn't put it the way you have put it.
Okay.
Right? It's not that the person who is doing the research will actually become the entrepreneur and take it forward, right? So we need enough people who are passionate about research, who are blue sky thinkers, who don't care about, you know, becoming a CEO or creating the largest company in the world, becoming a multi-billionaire and people like that. No, just passion for knowledge and creating new knowledge and doing world-class research. We need enough number of people there. Then we need a category of people who bridge the research to entrepreneurship, do the translational work, do the nitty-gritties of, the how do you create a proof of concept? How do you actually build a prototype? What it takes to convince somebody to now take it forward and build a company. Even the founder who starts a company may not be the one who builds this into a large enterprise, right? Many a time we have seen in the startup world that the CEO who starts may not be the CEO who scales the business, right? So what we need is people who are passionate about different stages of this value chain, enough number of people, enough investment, enough depth. And that's exactly the reason why I want all the people who are taking research to actually, yes, some of them will love it and will continue to do it. So we need enough number of people to do that. Some of them will actually become the people who do the translational work, bridge the gap between research and industry. And then some people will love to build organizations, scale it up to become world-class, etc. So we need all of these people actually. And right now we don't have enough people, good people going into research, and that's why this program is very important.
Yes.
Thank you, Chris. Wonderful answer. I love the last line. I'm going to now hand over to Preeti. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Chris. It was a very interesting and inspiring presentation. Big thanks to the 79ers group for arranging something like this. Very valuable to us, very important for us to hear these words and, which help us keep going, doing the work that we do. The IIT Madras Young Research Fellow Program, we're very excited to have launched this program this year. I think it was a long time coming, and basically the details are by now well advertised. We have pitched it to the third year students, and the main goal is to get their feet wet as far as research is concerned, have them participate in the myriad activities that are going on in the campus. And like you say, if they like it, if they take to it, then they have their whole life ahead of them to, do what they will, either get deeper, blue sky, translational, or whatever it is that they get passionate about. But we wanted them to make these decisions with information and not based on what other people tell them. So I think it has come at the absolute right time that that the program is launched right now, and we've been really excited. The response has been fantastic. And the type of projects that we've received from faculty have been so interesting. You talked a lot about AI ML, that features a lot in the projects that we have received, but also things like crystallography, synthetic reaction networks, systems biology, all of it despite the COVID situation and lockdown that we are having. So it's been really great. And you know, at least in the 90s, there used to be, now there's not so much talk of it, there used to be a lot of talk of brain drain, especially from the IITs. And there was always the question, you know, what IITians, are they truly nation builders and so on? So I think this screenshot of this Zoom call clearly indicates that the brains are still here and you know, contributing to the country. And we really look forward to building this army of really fantastic, skilled young people. And I thank you all very much for the inspiration and hand-holding and everything for the program. Thanks.
Thank you, Preeti. I'm going to, before Subra wraps up with a thank you and a closure, I'm going to request any of the other batchmates who wants to say something, please, you're most welcome to say it.
Hi, Sharad. This is Chaitan. Can I say something?
Please go ahead, Chetan.
Yeah. Hi.
Please
Actually, this
introduce
is
yourself. Yeah,
sorry.
where you are, etc. That'll be useful for most
Yeah,
people.
I'll do that. And in a way, I'm trying to address Chris's earlier comments. So I'm Chaitan Baru from the 79 batch, and currently here in Washington, D.C., actually at the National Science Foundation, whereas many people might know, Punch has just become our new NSF director. The question I wanted to ask was, so in some sense, you were comparing the US, China, India situation. And I would say maybe a couple of decades ago or earlier, China actually followed the US model, right? So they went both in terms of education, especially in terms of education and certainly research, they decided that the US model is working very well and we're going to copy those guys. India, of course, inherited a colonial model and more with a sort of British way of doing things and so on. And now as we move forward, as you said, India is ready to sort of leap ahead. But here's the question. I'm here as senior science advisor at NSF, and one of the things I'm involved with is something called the Accelerator Project that actually talks about use-inspired research and transition of research to practice. And I think what we feel now is with all these complex problems that society is facing, we need a lot more effort in that middle part, I think, that you were talking about, which is how do we take all this valuable research and actually create things that impact society, right? So as we are trying to do this and struggling with that transition, I'm wondering if India in some sense needs to adopt a position that says, you want to skate to where the puck is going and not where it's been, right? So you don't necessarily now need to follow what US was doing before, but US is also trying to go in a certain direction. And what does that mean for India at a very high level?
Chaitanya, we lost you.
We lost you.
Yeah, we seem to have lost Chaitanya.
To how to do all of this.
Okay,
Yeah. Chaitanya, for a minute we lost you. The last couple of sentences we didn't hear.
Oh, yeah, sorry, there was a glitch here. So I'm saying, so could this mean that there is sort of an Indian approach to how to now traverse into the future rather than just blindly following what was done in the past in the Western context, because even the contexts are changing here as well, right? So we are all now heading towards a new context.
I forget the name now of the program that Subra Suresh and Desh Deshpande introduced at NSF.
It was something about the international program, right?
No, you had some,
Frontiers.
they were all trained.
Frontiers.
Hmm?
Some frontiers he was talking about.
No.
Oh,
They were all trained to do translational work and take research from the lab to market, etc.
Right.
I forget the name. So along
SBIR
with
was one.
huh?
SBIR.
SBIR and there is a
SBIR.
program that they launched, a very successful program. It created many startups out of the research and things like that. And now
Yes, the ICOR program.
ICOR, exactly. And I think you have now launched the second version of ICOR. So we are actually bringing the best of ICOR to India. We have created a Gopal Krishnan Deshpande Center for Innovation and Entrepreneurship at IIT Madras. Desh is part of the effort actually. And this is actually located at IIT Madras. They have trained now many research graduates, etc., research faculty on the methodology, etc. And anything that we do, we will fine tune to meet Indian requirements and fine tune to adjust to the latest thought leadership and things like that. So we want to learn and we want to adapt that. And we want to continue to work with you in all these things actually. So we look forward to doing that. We are trying to replicate many of those things in India. The ICOR program has been brought to India. It is scaling up slowly. We are trying to talk to the government to adopt it also. Mahesh, you want to add to this if you are there?
I think, like you said, Raghu is really active with the PSA's office, trying to get more foothold for the ICOR thinking to start with.
I spoke to him. So the only thing I want to say is SBIR, ICOR, etc. is still sort of the linear model, which is Subra's earlier thing of going from left to right. But I think what we are also saying is that there is a virtuous cycle. That is, as you start trying to implement things, you actually learn something that might be valuable for research. And so researchers need to be in that loop.
Sure, I'll give you a Chris, can I? When you're done,
go ahead, Mahesh.
No, when you're done, I would like to give a professor's view of the research landscape. Chris, after you're done.
Yeah. So we are very much aware of this, and that's why the ecosystem that has been created at IIT Madras, we are trying to now replicate in all the major institutes across the country to create a research park, a startup ecosystem, along with all large institutes across the country. As we speak, I am fortunate to being able to set up 25 centers of excellence across the country in new emerging technologies. Each of these hub is a mini, innovation ecosystem where research will be done, products will be created from the research, translational work will happen, startups will emerge. And because it is within an academic institution, we hope that the virtuous circle will happen. Some of the faculty will go back and now continue with the research, etc. The customer's voice, the society's voice also is being brought into research. All of that is starting to happen now. And we will see. But we need to talk to each other and we need to learn from each other and look forward to actually working with you in any of these areas. I have some influence and opportunity to guide these things, and so look forward to actually interacting with you, etc. We are happy that I think all the three people there are all IIT Madras alum, I think, at the NSF. Right?
Yeah. We have now Punch as the director.
Can I say something?
Yeah. Subra was also an IIT alumni, yes.
Yeah, Subra was, and Suresh Garimella is an alumnus. Sudarshan Babu, who is on the board, is an alumnus.
Yeah.
So if it's, I just, one of the shifts I have seen in the last 4 to 5 years, as far as government research funding goes, the open blue sky money, like our DST, DBT kind of money is still available, but that has not grown. What this government has done is wherever they have tried to create new research programs, they have made it a lot more use-inspired, like you said, Chaitu. I think, like for example, I don't know if you know of a program called Inspire, which is a total outlay of 11,000 crores. What they said is you need an industry partner that will commit to at least 1/4 to about a half of the resources of the total resources needed for the project. And they want the project is judged based on the success level of this research being translated into products that the industry makes. So it's not just about blue sky ideas, but the merit of the proposal is hinged upon success of the translational aspect as well. I think this is new thinking for India, and to really, place a bet like 1 rupee from the industry being leveraged by 3 rupees from the government is very aggressive. I don't know of any NSF program that is that aggressive. And so the whole thinking of this government in the last 4 to 5 years has been to create more programs like this in specific verticals with biotech, with automotive industry, with chemicals and manufacturing, with pharmaceutical. In all these verticals, they've said, bring an industry partner, work with an academic institution, and the entire IP is basically negotiated between the two players, the academic institution and the industry partner. So they've now created what one may call these matchmaking programs with a lot of money riding on these proposals. And I think that's a start to really creating the full complete value chain, where you have still pieces of the puzzle where blue sky research is funded, but these missing pieces that were in the past are now like filled in some way.
Now that sounds great. The only thing I'll add there is, so the challenge we are seeing here right now, there's a similar program we have, is actually finding good reviewers for these. So academics in the US are used to reviewing traditional research proposals, and they know how to do intellectual merit for those. But these require multi-sector people, industry people, and university people. And it may be people like Chris who sort of bridge the gap. Finding those kind of people is very hard.
I agree, Chaitu. I think what the government is saying is they want the industry partner to commit to hard numbers, saying, look, how many, what would this research do in your products? What would it do? Would it increase sales? Would it give you a competitive advantage? And they're almost judging the industry partner. They're holding the industry partner's feet to the fire in the review process also.
So Chaitanya, one thing that has happened is just like India has become the primary location for IT services. India is becoming the primary location for R&D, industrial R&D. The back office R&D of Google, Facebook, Microsoft, Intel, the second largest R&D location, the third largest R&D location. For Samsung, India is again the second largest or maybe the largest R&D location in the world, right? So slowly the R&D strength in industry is building. Now, what is not happening is the interaction between that R&D staff and our institutes. Yeah. We need to build that bridge, and then you will see a complete different environment here in India.
So I think we're hoping the YRF can benefit, maybe can help.
Can do that.
Thank you very much for that. I'm going to request now Murli to talk about something unique we're doing along with this whole YRF program, or as part of it, which is meant to help the student in a personal sense. And then I'm going to leave it to Subra to wrap it up. Murli, would you like to say something about the CLICK program?
Yeah. Okay. I think it starts off with what Chris talked about, what you love. I think if I go back and look at our time in IIT, the only thing we loved was how to go abroad. We never knew what we loved. I think the biggest challenge for all of us is to discover what we love. And to answer that question, we have to go internally as much as we go externally. So for the first time, this program has a component called, which is basically career and life coach, which I think most of our batchmates have agreed to be a support for every student who comes in YRF. So the idea is, as he makes the progress externally on the research problem, is also making a very difficult questions about himself, what I want out of my life, what career I want to do. So we want to be his partner when he makes those choices. So this is something very unique, and we hope that this Click program, which you are launching along with YRF, will be a big differentiator in helping them make what they love. And that's what I want to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Murli. Over to you, Subra.
Okay. Thank you, Chris. First and foremost, thank you. That was an incredibly inspiring speech, very outstanding. You covered all the points, from national competitiveness to actually, for students to be inspired to delve into research, into ideas, and then potentially even create startups and so on. So basically, the YRF program, we thought, would deepen the culture of research, and that research should become integral to the undergraduate experience. This goes to your point of the more people engage in research, the more ultimately will result in either breakthrough ideas or breakthrough companies, or they basically transform life as we know it. Completely with that idea, we thought we would start YRF, and you gave a fantastic speech covering all of the points, and even more than what we had thought of. Excellent. Thank you so much for it. And also another interesting point that you made for those students who are listening is, it is okay to engage in research. It's okay to bridge to translational sciences, to go into startups. So there are examples. For example, Sergey Brin and Page, they came up with the PageRank algorithm during a PhD. They went on to found Google right after that. On the other hand, there are people who wanted to do, for example, we talk so much about Steve Jobs and the whole revolution. That would not have been possible but for Claude Shannon, right? Who came up with information theory and all that stuff, but he stuck to research. So different people have different interests. Sometimes they can cross over, sometimes they stay. But I think we need a large body of researchers. I think when Chaiti says the US model, US, you already have a glut of researchers. And then the question is the translational science needs to be beefed up. I don't think in India we are quite there yet. I think that needs to be beefed up as well. So that was the idea behind this YRF, and we are so, grateful to you for coming to this series and for supporting this idea. I'm sure you have inspired a lot of students. I'm really thankful to Naru for setting this up. We've had fantastic collaboration from IIT Madras, Mahesh and Preeti and Sachin and Ani. They have been so passionate about this program, and they're putting in so many hours on this. It's unbelievable. We really believe this is going to be a transformative program in the future. A first step, to deepen the culture of research in the whole country. I have received personally calls from all other IIT alumni saying, can you people help us do the same similar kinds of stuff and so on. So with this, I would say that yours is an excellent speech, very inspiring. I'm sure the students have been inspired. Preeti, you should take a poll right after this speech and you should see an uptick in applications. Extremely timely. I think we are in the process of opening up the applications, receiving them, and right now I really believe that this is a very helpful speech at the right time. I thank you very much for it. I thank my classmates, 79ers, who've been working very hard. One of the points here is that we've been working on marketing this on the web platform, on so many aspects of it, and including coaching, like just now Murali was talking about. It's a very well thought out program, and we have been trying to help in every way we can. This is not just take some of our money and go do this thing. We are trying to be as helpful as we can. And the IIT Madras folks are not saying we don't need your help. They are saying, yes, we need your help to collaborate. So I hope this is a model program, and I hope this inspires our other alumni to do similar programs where they get actually involved with IIT, not just in just giving money, but also in creating a very constructive and profoundly useful program. So with this, thank you very much, and thank all my classmates, IIT, and Chris, of course. This was truly outstanding. We're really grateful you came on to this series.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, and bye, everyone.
Thank you all. Bye.
Thank you, Chris.
Bye bye.